Welcome to Nugget 255 with Steve and Dana Groman, and we will be continuing on our series about the Grand Canyon. We could talk about the Grand Canyon for a year, possibly years, but we just want to give you a little glimpse into this fabulous place, and it's probably on most of your bucket list, and if you haven't gone, I do encourage you to do so. And I do want to encourage you to go back to my Saturday travel and history tip that was posted last Saturday when we took a drive along Diamond Creek Road to the Colorado River. In our photo journal of the Grand Canyon, which was Nugget 254, I mentioned that in the next Nuggets we will be talking about creation versus evolution with respect to the Grand Canyon, and we will start with the evolutionary viewpoint. The park map says, Grand Canyon, one of the Earth's most powerful, inspiring landscapes, overwhelms our senses. Its story tells of geologic processes played out over unimaginable time spans as a unique combination of size, color, and dazzling erosional forms. 277 river miles long, up to 18 miles wide, and a mile deep. Its rugged landscape hosts a fascinating variety of plant and animal communities, from the desert next to the Colorado River, deep in the canyon, to montane forest atop its north rim. And in the park map, of course, it is going to be the evolutionary viewpoint. They talk about the Vishnu basement rocks that are 1,840 to 1,680 million years ago, the Grand Canyon supergroup 1,200 to 740 million years ago, the Tonto group 525 to 505 million years ago, the Redwall limestone 340 million years ago, the Supai group 315 to 285 million years ago, and the Coconino sandstone 275 million years ago, capped off by the Kaibab Formation 270 million years ago, and now the present day, where between 5 and 6 million years ago, the erosion of the canyon began. How do they know any of this? They don't. They can only speculate. They do give quite the scenario in the park map, and I'm not going to go through that. If you want to research this, I do encourage you to do so. There is so much information on the Grand Canyon, and it would be a great test of your creation skills. More than 100 years ago, people began to realize that the canyon needed protection if future visitors were to experience the natural wonder of this landscape. Although it was not without controversy, the U.S. Congress, expressing the will of the people, set aside Grand Canyon National Park in 1919, and I'm grateful for that. Most people do visit the South Rim, although the North Rim is exceedingly spectacular. In one of my favorite books, The Guide to the National Parks of the Southwest, they say this about the Grand Canyon. Most people's view of the Grand Canyon is an astonishing experience. Staring into the abyss from a viewpoint on the rim, visitors are often left awed and speechless. What they mostly see is unending space filled with air and light, with a rock backdrop that hardly looks real. And that's true. Our first view of Grand Canyon was at the Desert View. As the deepest part of the gorge is a distant small V of water, it is the Colorado River, the agent responsible for carving out this monumental space. How is that possible? This is not a cause that initially comes to mind. Surely something bigger or more catastrophic committed this act. Earthquakes, perhaps, or glaciers. I think that's more likely true. A catastrophic act, like Noah's flood. Yet the Colorado River was the abrasive conveyor belt that cut the canyon a mile deep and carried tons of debris to the ocean. Meanwhile, side streams have eaten back into the rim to widen the canyon up to 10 miles across, as the raven flies. That's funny, they use a raven. Didn't Noah use a raven? Surely such an achievement took a long time. It did in human terms, but not in geologic time. Best estimates have the Colorado chiseling the Grand Canyon to its present depth in only 4 million years, perhaps even as little as 2 million years. A heartbeat in geologic time. Isn't that 100% difference? The rocks that have been revealed, however, are much older than the canyon itself. In fact, the oldest rock here, the black polished Vishnu schist of the inner gorge, approaches 2 billion years. Everything resting on top of the Vishnu is younger. That's geologic sorting, that the youngest layer is on top. The latest layer to be laid down would be on top. You can't lay down something before something if it was later. Did that make sense? Okay. The tan tapeat sandstone, the impenetrable red wall, the cross-bedded coconino, to the rim rock Kaibab limestone that clocks in at around 240 million years. This display represents one of the fullest exposures of rock in the world, a stone diary of the comings and goings of entire oceans, beaches, rivers, mudflaps, swamps, and deserts. And so the Grand Canyon puts time and our short lives in perspective. It demands contemplation. It cannot be seen in a day, a week, or even a lifetime, and everyone has a unique reaction. This drawing is from a textbook of the different layers of Earth there, and it says, the break in the Earth's crust at Grand Canyon exposes more of the Earth's strata than any other place in the world, but less than half the geologic systems are included. There are gaps in the ideal column sequence. It is a spectacular place to go to. There's the El Tovar, the Lodge, the Hopi House, and there is a rim trail. And in one of these nuggets, when we cover fossils, we will talk about when we rock climbed across brachiopods and clams on the rim trail. In one of our latest visits to the Grand Canyon, we actually walked the trail to Hermits Rest, which is only reached via shuttle or by walking the rim trail. And the views along this section are magnificent, and it's also a great thing to do because there aren't very many people along this. Most people just ride the shuttle, go out to Hermits Rest, look around, and get back on the shuttle and return back. And the Hermits Rest is a National Historic Landmark that is found at the end of the trail. And we did return on the shuttle that evening. But once you get out this far, if you are on the trail, you're going to find yourself alone to enjoy this fabulous testimony to Noah's flood, such as at Powell Point, and I've mentioned about Powell. And unfortunately, he was at the time frame when Darwinian evolution was rising, and Powell was a strong evolutionist, and he is one of the people that have propelled the evolutionary concepts of the Grand Canyon, although his approach has been dismissed for more recent thinkings. He is one of the ones who started applying an evolutionary mindset to this beautiful monument to catastrophe. I do want to recommend our Creation Seminar series and our lesson number 9, Rock Solid Proof, where we go into detail on where is the proof of the rocks. Is it on the evolutionist side or is it on the creationist side? In the next nugget, we'll be looking at this from a strong creationist viewpoint. If you appreciate our nuggets, please share them with at least one person in your contact list. Help us grow our channels. Thank you.